Hi, and welcome to my channel. In this series, we're going to build a kitchen at our cottage, in a room where at the moment there is no hot water and no drain. The whole thing will be built on a budget and mostly by myself. Because given the current situation we're in, there is a shortage of skilled workers on the market. This is an old house dating back to the late 19th century, made mostly out of stone with walls thick up to 70 centimeters. When me and my wife took over it, with the help of a skilled electrician, we completely replaced all the wiring because it was made out of aluminum and dated back to the 1950s. It was in a neglected state, definitely not up to modern standards, and given we planned adding extra load on the system with a water heater, fridge, microwave oven and cooker, it was the only option. While doing that, we've planned the rough layout of the kitchen and prepared electrical outlets. The wiring has been routed in such way that it will be possible to add water, drain and heating pipe in the kitchen without crossing. Well, at least hopefully. We're planning to fully reconstruct the cottage in the future, but we need to save for a couple more years. And if possible, we want to keep the kitchen if nothing else. The house is quite damp, mainly due to a lack of any hydro insulation. Energy losses are extreme and there is no central heating. You can experience 20 degrees temperature differences just by going from one room to another. On the other hand, the surrounding nature is simply stunning, and if the nearby nuclear power station explodes, the walls are so thick they will protect us from the radiation. This is current state of the kitchen. We've bought one IKEA kitchen cabinet to install the induction stove and oven. Then you can see Soviet plastic cabinets, which will soon be history, and a sink with cold water only. Water from the sink runs directly through the wall and onto the ground. That's not acceptable and we need to fix it. Through the hall, we get to the cellar where there is a main water connection, and we can also tap into the hot water coming from the bathroom, which is right behind the wall. We're going to replace the old cold water connection going into the kitchen, because the pipes are made out of steel and they are already quite rusty. I will salvage some of the parts though, like this manometer. And a valve for draining the water. The first order of business is adding valves for the kitchen pipes branch so I can block the water flow and I can get a shower tonight. Otherwise I would have to drain the whole system again, which would be a great waste of water. I start by cutting the existing cold water 32mm PPR pipe and weld a threaded 1-inch adapter. The branch going to the left is water inlet and the plastic branch heading towards the viewer flows in the bathroom. Welding PPR pipes is a pretty straightforward process. You have to clean the both ends with an alcohol. I like to sand rough edges with sandpaper, but you don't have to. Then you measure the depth of the weld, which is also the depth of insert into the welder. And finally, you have roughly 5 seconds to make the connection and another at least 10 to 15 seconds to support it. At any time, you shouldn't twist or bend the weld or it may fail. Excuse the flickering light, unfortunately my camera went out of sync with the auxiliary light. Then I prepared fittings with the valve. I started by adding a step down piece from 1 inch to 3/4 inch to the T-shape. Both hot and cold water pipes will have 20mm diameter, and larger fittings are only waste of money. I use a Teflon thread because it is simple to use, and compared to Teflon tape, you can later correct the connection without leaking. I threaded the grooves and then I add around 5 rotations in a random direction. That should provide a tight connection. Next goes the valve. and the manometer. You can see it is made out of brass, and after a bit of a cleaning it is like new. The weld should be cured by now, so I threaded the adapter and connected brass fittings. It looks beautiful compared to the old pipes. Of course, I didn't want to put too much stress on the pipes, so I supported it with stuff lying around. I really didn't want to salvage any more of the rusty piping, so I used the angle grinder to cut it off. Naturally, it was full of water, so I got my shower a little too early. It was time for adding a valve to the hot water branch. I welded few pieces with the valve together. Cut the valve so I can weld a 90-degree knee. Measured the final distance between existing pipe and the new ones, and welded everything together. The new piping is designed in such a way that I can empty all the water using gravity. Well, moment of truth. I closed the inlet pipe for the water heater so I don't have to empty extra 160 liters in case there is a failure on the cold water system. And surely enough, one of the connections was leaking. I stopped the water pump, drained just enough of water to create a bit of a vacuum in the pipes, and rethreaded the joint. After another try, I was greeted with a splash of water in the cellar. I forgot to close the valve. However, this time the seal was tight and I could proceed in pressurizing the hot water circuit. I checked all the newly made joints and they were dry. At least a bit of a success. I will perform proper pressure test once all the new pipes will be in place. Until then, thank you for watching and please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel to see future episodes of my kitchen remodel. It will be fun. In the next episode, I'll use a jackhammer for the first time in my life.